An absolutely hilarious story about Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud and Chip Kelly. Could there be clues? Could the Texans be close to bringing in Chip? Let's go live inside the locker room. This one's going to be fun.
It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not two. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions.
It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. And I got to tell you, this was one of my favorite days of the offseason so far. Some people would say, well, it must be a slow news day. It kind of was. The offseason is continuing. Cody Stutes is holding it down at the Senior Bowl. Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans are at the Senior Bowl as well. And we got a little bit of news. But I think that I think that it can interestingly lead to maybe the name that I feel that a lot of people might like for offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly. And we'll get to that in a second. But first we got to talk about this hilarious CJ Stroud tale from Zerline over there at ESPN 97.5. And this isn't like just someone throwing something out there. I thought this was funny. It was Lance. I'm not going to lie. Like when I first reacted to it and I put out a video reacting to it, the basis of the thoughts is still there, but I think it's becoming more and more hilarious and more difficult for me to imagine this being like 100% how everything went down with CJ Stroud and damn it, Bobby Slowick.
Damn it, Bobby.
So we'll get to it in a sec. I want to ask y'all, is the sound normal right now? Like, do I sound like my normal self? I actually just got a wireless interview mic to take with me to Indy, a nice Rode. I'm charging it. I'm just making sure it's not backgrounding or anything. So we will truck along. I'm assuming everything's good and that it's not in the mix yet, but me with technology sometimes can be a little bit of a problem. Believe it or not, it can be a little bit of a problem. So just let me know if there's anything different going on with that. And without further ado, let's just hop right into this Bobby Slowick, CJ Stroud extravaganza, the talk of the day on Texans Twitter. It kind of bled in. A lot of people aggregated it. A lot of people had takes on it. I have some takes too, but I think it's just a little bit weird of a thing. And we'll talk about it in a sec. And we'll just start and pause in this instance. But someone actually sent me AI of what it would look like if, and this is from Grok at Sean J8 sent me some AI of what it would look like in a hypothetical world where Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud got in each other's faces. Isn't that lovely right there? They had to be broken up. CJ Stroud and Bobby Slowick face to face. No love here. That might be what you call it at Ohio State. That ain't what we do around here. But let's hear where the foundation of this whole story came from. And a guy named Robert Land on Twitter, he was the one who pulled this from Lance. I don't know whether Lance wanted this out there or not. Sometimes you just kind of start talking on the radio and then some people start talking. But here was the story, and we'll just start and pause instead of playing it all the way through. Here was the story on ESPN 97.5 with Zerline and the great Granado. Look at Granado, man. That dude could sell you something right there. Look at that guy. All right, let's hear what Lance had to say, though, about CJ.
I'll tell you the whole thing now that Slowik's gone. CJ Stroud came to visit the Texans, and Bobby Slowik was telling them, okay, they were watching stuff on tape. Now, before I tell you this, when CJ was at Ohio State, he really didn't talk to the OC at all. He didn't think he knew ball. This coming from somebody who knows CJ intimately.
Now, I don't I actually asked someone at Ohio State that knows CJ pretty intimately. I think this is kind of misleading. I don't know that CJ would have talked to the OC in any instance, whether he thought he was a genius or not at Ohio State. And let me explain. Ryan Day's the quarterback coach at Ohio State. He's also the offensive coordinator, and he's also the guy who calls the plays. The OC at Ohio State was like a poor man's version of what Matt Burke is with D'Amico Ryans. Much, 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 much extreme poor man's version. Now, the year after CJ left, they gave Brian Hartline, the great wide receiver coach, that de facto title. But up till this year when Chip Kelly got there, and we'll get to Chip Kelly in a second, the plays were being called by Ryan Day, and Ryan Day was the quarterback coach. And the guy that was the OC at the time CJ was there was a tight end coach, and everybody knew he wasn't doing the game plan. He wasn't doing the offensive game plan. He wasn't calling plays. So the way that that's presented, like if you're someone who doesn't know the dynamic, it's presented as CJ Stroud knows it all. He doesn't think the guy knows ball, so he's not communicating with him, when the reality is the actual dynamic of what Ohio State is what Lance is talking about. Like, that's the actual dynamic. So I thought that was a weird layout as is. I find it very hard to believe. And I've actually heard CJ Stroud in games praise the coach that Lance is talking about for the game plan after Ryan Day. Go watch the Georgia post-game press conference. He mentioned him. So I don't really believe all of that. So here is some more on the CJ Stroud thing.
He didn't think the offense coordinator was very smart, so he would only talk to Ryan Day. Ryan Day was the guy who had to communicate with CJ,
right? Which
I didn't love that, honestly, before the draft process, and it played into some of my thoughts on CJ in terms of coachability. What I heard was that he didn't like his communication was Ryan Day and not the offense coordinator. Okay, well, that's a little strange, but whatever. He comes into Houston. Bobby Slowick is trying to tell him some stuff, and CJ just says, "Oh yeah, I know that we call this, whatever, XY switch, whatever it would be at Ohio State." And apparently, maybe it happened a couple times, and Bobby Slowick just kind of jumped him and said, "I don't give a what you."
We watch every Bobby Slowick press conference.
Damn it, Bobby.
Sometimes intently. I've grilled Bobby Slowick this year. Stutz has grilled Bobby Slowick this year. It's hard for me to imagine Bobby Slowick saying, "I don't give a F what you did at Ohio State," and cussing him out. That is hard for me to imagine. Like, I said earlier, like, it's somewhere between Bigfoot and a UFO. Me imagining Bobby Slowick just saying, "I don't give a F what you did at Ohio State," and bowing up to CJ Stroud. That is really hard for me to imagine. It's also hard for this part for me to imagine when it comes to CJ Stroud.
Called Ohio State, that's college, this is pro football, and Bobby kind of got in his face about it.
Got in his face.
And CJ's not one to back down at all. And
so Bobby Slowick got in CJ Stroud's face because they call plays differently here than at Ohio State. Okay. All right.
CJ, and I don't know if Bobby was testing him, or I don't know what the deal was, but CJ jumped up and got back in his face, and it was very contentious. It had to be kind of broken up. And so when CJ went to his next draft meeting, and I talked to the team where CJ went, because I asked this team, "Hey, did you hear anything about this with CJ Stroud?" And they said, "Oh, we asked CJ how his last visit went, which was Houston." And he said, "Terrible. I don't think I'll be going there." And people who train, like CJ's whole crew, did not want him to go to Houston. And they didn't think he was going to Houston because it was him.
See, that's not that I can say on 100% authority. And I said this leading up. I know someone very, very deep in CJ's crew that didn't think he was going to end up in Houston, but he wanted him to be in Houston. I'm not a screenshot guy. I'm not any of that. But I know for a fact that he wanted him to be in Houston. And this is someone in his crew. So I don't know. And we also got to realize he had the same agent as Deshaun Watson, same business guy as Deshaun Watson. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic at the time. Maybe, I mean, there was, I think, rational thoughts and speculation as to whether or not they would bring in a guy that was Deshaun Watson's agent and CJ. They ended up doing it. But I know 100% fact, promise you, that someone very, very, very deep in CJ's crew wanted him to be here, did not think that he would. So maybe that adds to the point, but didn't want. I think the whole like premise of this thing is pretty dramatic. The Ohio State presentation, there probably is something to the Slowick thing, but Slowick getting in someone's face and having to be broken up just seems like there might have been a little bit of mustard on this.
And Bobby got into it. And then CJ was drafted by Houston, which that's one of the reasons I was really surprised. Like I kind of wrote, after finding that out, I wrote CJ off from the Texans. And I thought, okay, this is Will Anderson for sure.
Now, in fairness, Lance is one of the faces of the draft here. He had Tyree Wilson mocked to the Texans. So he still hears about it. I think it's weird to get mad at someone about a mock draft, but he was way off on this thing. I thought they were going to take Will Anderson number 2 as well. So I'm not like clearing myself of it, and I'm not as connected as him. But this was one of his big kind of misses. So maybe there's like a little bit of overcompensation here.
And so when they traded for him, I was very surprised because I knew there was that lingering stuff there. But then in discussing all of it last year, I heard it was squashed. Like there was no issue. Bobby and him were good.
Okay, and I think Bobby and him were good all the way till the end. I think CJ actually would have been okay with Bobby Slowick staying here. I think he liked Bobby Slowick. So I just don't. It's really hard for me to imagine. Really hard for me to imagine Bobby Slowick cussing at someone and then getting in his face, and then CJ Stroud getting in Bobby Slowick's face, and those two having to be separated. Could there have been like an awkward moment where Bobby Slowick says, yeah, that's Ohio State. This is how we do it here. And maybe CJ, it was kind of tense. And maybe there was like some sort of like conversation about it. Maybe. But it's really hard for me to imagine Bobby Slowick bowing up to CJ Stroud to where it, quote, has to get broken up. It's actually hilarious. Like what fights? Let's think about this. The least likely fights that you could think about in this Texans locker room, the least likely fights. There's one fight that I could not imagine. Like I could 100% imagine Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud fighting before I could imagine one fight. And that's the offensive line against an opposing defense. That's the only one. The offensive line against an opposing defense is the only fight that I could imagine less than Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud bowing up to each other. I couldn't imagine that. Let's just think like maybe John Weeks and Fairbairn get in each other's faces. The long snapper and the kicker. Maybe we get that. Maybe we get Frank Ross and D'Amico Ryans about to fight. I just find this hard to believe. And the Ohio State thing, sometimes you get to talking, and sometimes when you get to talking, you kind of get gassed up, especially that early in the morning. And maybe you put a little extra flavor on it. I don't know. But the Ohio State thing was just very poorly represented. As if CJ just said, this guy doesn't know a ball. I'm not effing with him. So Ryan Day go above and beyond. Ryan Day's his quarterback coach, his offensive coordinator, and the play caller. So the dynamic of Ohio State was such to where that was what was going to happen. The other guy's coaching tight ends. But Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud nose to nose about to fight. I just have a hard time imagining that. That's difficult. But again, sometimes, and this is just sometimes how it works. Sometimes, like when it comes to draft stories, when it comes to stuff after the fact, sometimes the information gets lost in a game of telephone. Sometimes it's fabricated, and sometimes guys behind the scenes are different. Like maybe Bobby Slowick is just fighting everybody behind the scenes. Maybe Bobby Slowick is like Kimbo Slice in the locker room after everything. Maybe he's going up to Joe Mixon and saying, "You want some too, bitch?" Hey, Tunsil, you want some of this too? Maybe Bobby Slowick's just like a behind the scenes type of killer. And he's just about it. He just wants to bow up to everybody. Walking around the locker room. Cal McNair walks in. You want some of this too, old man? Oh my God.
Damn it, Bobby.
Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud having to be separated would be, I would watch that every morning if we had that on Hard Knocks. If we had that on Hard Knocks, I would watch that every damn morning. Like the other thing about it, like, say you hate wide receiver screens one more time. That's what I thought. Like the other thing about it is, and y'all kind of followed along this, like the questions I asked Bobby Slowick, like if it was anywhere in that guy's personality, if it was anywhere in that guy's personality to be an NFL hardo, where this is how we do it in the league, this ain't college, you don't know ball. Don't you think he would have punked my ass at least once? He was always really cool. He always gave really good answers, even the follow-ups. You might not have liked them, but for like a dumbass radio / broadcast / digital beat writer guy to go in there and ask him this question, as in his defense, as his team's kind of depleted and stuff. Don't you think Bobby would have at least called me like a bitch in some way, shape, or form? Like, and at least like kind of try to make me look like a dumbass? Like, I mean, like that, there was no vibe there. Bill O'Brien would do it. D'Amico's done it a couple of times. There's players who do it. And I mean, that comes with the territory. They're in the league. Bobby Slowick was always like in-depth, answering questions. Like if you asked me to describe a lot of things about Bobby Slowick, arrogance, combative, would I don't even know if it would even enter the arena. If you asked me to list 100 words to describe Bobby Slowick, it just doesn't seem like that would be one of those. Apparently, Bobby's getting nose to nose with guys in the draft process. Someone says Landry versus Bobby. Who we got? I'm a grown ass man, dude. I'm a grown ass man. I got a wife. I got a kid. Probably about to have more kids. I ain't fighting nobody. I ain't fighting nobody. I am 6'5.5", 240, but I'm not fighting nobody. That's it. I would run from mini me if he tried fighting me these days. I am not a fighter. But Bobby Slowick. And here's the other thing. We'll get to it in a sec. Scotty's on the super chat. Appreciate you, Scotty.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
I did not know this is where we were going. Why do Aaron Wilson's YouTube posts look like hostage video in a nursing home? So you're saying Aaron's got kind of like an ISIS vibe on his YouTube? I don't know. I haven't seen him. I thought he was just posting interviews. I don't know. I'm not sure. A-Dub's a reporter. A-Dub's not radio guy / stream. type of dude. I don't know. The more laughs, the better, though, Scott. I'm not sure. Shout out to Aaron doing his thing. But let's just pretend. Let's use our imaginations, and let's act like all of this is true. Just for the sake of this story. And again, this is Lance Zierlein. You know, like this is Lance Zierlein. This is Radio Hall of Famer. One of the draft go-tos around here for a long time. A guy who pretty well connected in the NFL, knows a lot of guys. Like this is him saying all this. Again, we're not really meat riders, meat watchers in here, so anyone can catch a fade, including your boy, when it comes to like breaking down assessments and stuff like that. Players, coaches, whatever. Catch a fade's a dumbass comment. Anyone can get analyzed. That was a douchebag moment by me. I apologize. But let's just pretend, for the sake of discussion, let's just pretend that everything that he said is true. I can't even say it with a straight face. But let's pretend that CJ Stroud was a diva and he just told the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, even though he was the tight end coach and didn't call plays and didn't do game plan. Let's pretend that CJ Stroud told that guy to F off. And let's pretend that he basically told Ryan Day, hey, it's me and you. I'm not talking to him. This guy doesn't know ball. I'm not dealing with him. So let's pretend that. Let's pretend that's true. I think that is one of the most misrepresented things that there is. But let's pretend that's true. That's bad on CJ. Like all the pre-draft talk, I didn't know what the fucking S2 test was. And I said this at the time. The S2 drama and stuff, maybe there's something to. I don't know what the S2 test is, so I can't get some score and say, "Oh, I'm worried about it," because I had no idea what it was. And quite frankly, when it was explained to me, it sounded like a video game at Dave & Buster's that I don't want to play. Like the way that they described the S2 test, I was like, damn, that's that nerdy ass game at Dave & Buster's. I'm over here playing like the new ass version of NBA Jam, which by the way is badass. I was at Dave & Buster's. I forgot what that was called, but it was sick. So I didn't know what that was, but like if CJ Stroud, the way this was presented, was telling the offensive coordinator that was presented as pretty important in that clip. If he was telling him that looks bad on CJ. I don't believe that, but we're pretending. We're pretending that everything in this is true. That's what we're doing. We're pretending. Okay? Then we're going to pretend that CJ Stroud goes and visits the Houston Texans. And he's mentioning Ohio State and the way they do stuff. And Bobby Slowick tells him to shut the F up. That's not how we do it here. And gets in his face. And then CJ Stroud gets in his face. And the two guys have to be separated. Okay? Who looks bad there? I think a lot of people would say, dang, Bobby. I didn't know you had that in you.
Damn it, Bobby.
But they obviously developed a good relationship after that, a good dynamic and a good amount of respect. I don't think that they were really faking that to begin with. And I don't think their personalities represent guys who act such a way. But if that is true, who looks bad there? Wouldn't it be CJ? Bowing up to a coach to where they have to be separated? Like, think about that. That the story wasn't presented as there was a disagreement and it got a little bit heated and awkward, which could happen. Like, that could happen. It said they bowed up to each other and had to be separated. So Bobby Slowick, who's I'm trying to pretend. So Bobby Slowick, who's a first-time offensive coordinator, he's working under D'Amico Ryans, who's one of the calmest guys in the world, and Nick Caserio, who's a very calm guy too. Bobby Slowick, who I think might be calmer than all of them, is bowing up to CJ Stroud to where they, quote, have to be separated. Who looks bad on that? Obviously, it's in the past, but just pretending that is true. It obviously didn't get Bobby Slowick fired. It obviously didn't. It was 2 combines ago, like draft processes. But who looks worse there? That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I can't see it. I'll try. I'm a very imaginative guy. I can't see that. Just can't. Maybe I need some
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
Still can't see it. Still not seeing it. Sorry. Very tough. Bobby secretly has the gangster body vibe. Bobby's just fighting fools. He's in like the mafia. Don't see it. Mr. Heisenberg says, I'm not saying it happened, but people do get out of character every now and then don't normally go that route. Yeah, people get out of character. That's 2 guys getting out of character in a weird process. I don't know. I don't think either one of those guys are like that. So, but if it is true, I would think CJ looks worse. All right, we've met our quota on that. Question: are the Texans closer to Chip Kelly? This news broke as we were on SNL today. And if you're not subscribed to SNL, are you even a Texans fan? And do you even want the pulse of what's going on? SNL with myself and Cody Stutes, live daily, 4:00 throughout the season. We started this podcast a few months ago already. Incredible numbers. Started the YouTube channel about a month or so ago. Already a few thousand deep. The best collab with the 2 best guys on the beat. SNL Texans Talk with Landry Locker and Cody Stutes. And while we were talking, the news broke, courtesy of Ian Rappaport, that Bucs QB coach Thad Lewis is interviewed for the vacant Texans OC job, according to a source. Lewis has received several requests for OC interviews, but this is the first one he's taken. Houston moved on from Bobby Slowik last week. Couple things here. First of all, Thad Lewis started his coaching career in 2018-19 under, wait for it, Chip Kelly. A lot of times in the interview process, when you interview guys for jobs, if you don't hire them for one job, maybe you just kind of get to pick their brain and you hire them for another. Thad Lewis also coached by Chip Kelly at one point. So I immediately thought about Chip Kelly when I heard this. Another thing from this report from Ian Rappaport, and this could just be an agent saying agent things, but it says that he'd received several requests for OC interviews, but this is the first one he's taken. Maybe he knows where he's going, because Thad Lewis just doesn't seem like someone who should just be turning down job interviews, assuming he still wants to work. So maybe this is kind of a part of the plan for Chip Kelly. Just a thought. Just maybe a little bit of a thought with this whole thing. That's immediately where my mind went. I maintain this. I believe this. The Texans, when they fired Bobby Slowick, the assassin, the badass, the one who could beat Mike Tyson and Brock Lesnar up in his prime, Bobby Slowick, when they fired him, they knew who they were going to get. And that's only common sense. So is that Chip Kelly? Who knows? I would keep a close eye on that report coming out. You're going to have to give up a few million, and you're going to have to figure some stuff out. Oh, yeah, and then you're going to have to hope that CJ Stroud talks to you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're gonna have to hope that CJ Stroud talks to you. that was the craziest part of the whole thing. But yeah, I think that the Chip Kelly thing is something to keep an eye on. I would think if he comes here, maybe Thad Lewis is here, and that's the direction that Chip goes. They know what they're doing. They have a decent idea. They know what the deal is. They're not blindly looking for an OC. Chase has a big report here. This is some breaking news. Heard Bobby and McAfee have a match scheduled for WrestleMania. Eric says Bobby having an almost physical altercation with a potential first-round pick as a first-year offensive coordinator doesn't make a lot of sense. I agree with you, especially if you know his personality. I mean, that would make sense for Dan Campbell to do. Bobby Slowick, I mean, a disagreement is one thing. Had to be separated was where it kind of went there. Like the disagreement, okay, well, maybe he was kind of testing him, and maybe it got a little bit crazy, but had to be separated, nose to nose. Okay. We'll see. But that's the latest on the OC. That's the latest on CJ Stroud. And that's what that is. J Rock asks, Landry, what's up with the story of Bobby crying in the locker room in front of everyone? Hey, I kept that moving, man. I heard there might be different types of emotions from Bobby, but not really like trying to fight. That's just what I heard. I heard it was like a little bit more emotional on the other side as opposed to fighting. That's all I heard. I don't have like details. I just heard that there was maybe a little bit more different types of emotions, frustration type stuff. I wanted to do this because I think we are a fair community here. Whenever like a quote goes viral, I try to use like balance entertainment with like journalistic ethics and just try to get full context. And I kind of want to do that with one of the Texans rivals, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, Liam Cohen's getting a lot of crap for his press conference in that Duval clip. And I kind of just want to get a grasp of what that whole press conference was like to get some context and see if maybe there was a little bit more to it than just that Duval part. So let's take a look at this introductory press conference with Shad Khan and Liam Cohen, and let's see if we can get a little bit of context as to what exactly was going on there. And I'm watching this for the first time with you. I'm just trying to be fair. I remember when Sirianni got grilled a little bit. Let's kind of check this out and just see what the vibe was at the press conference. Let's hear from Liam Cohen.
To the man of the hour, Liam, and his sons right there, Jackson Callahan, his dad, Tim, mother-in-law, Edna. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Jacksonville, Florida. And to everyone watching online, thank you for joining. We're here today because we're coming off a very disappointing season. Our fans, our partners deserve better, much better. And that's why 3 weeks ago, I announced that we would search for a new head coach.
Man.
When we interviewed 10 remarkable candidates for the positions, two things became clear to me. Number one, that this wasn't a moment of regret for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was a moment of progress, optimism, and confidence that we will achieve the ultimate goal as long as we have the right man. And number two, that man was Liam Cohen. Why? Liam's outstanding body of work speaks for itself. Quarterback development is the bedrock of modern NFL, and Liam has delivered that wherever he's coached. His outstanding reputation preceded our first interview on video, and everything we heard about him from top people throughout football solicited.
All right, so this is Con. This is just basically going to be the layout. Let's get to the Cohen part. Let's go to the super chat first, though. Dion swarming.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
We call this a glance route. We call this a skinny post. Get out of here, Bobby. Couldn't hurt a fly. Yeah, I just don't. Bobby bowing up, man. Bowing up, Bobby. Bowing up, Bobby. How about that? All right, let's hear from Liam Cohen. Let's see what he's got.
Thank you, Shad. As I said last week, this is a moment of a lifetime. I'm grateful for your confidence in me. I also appreciate that you saying that I inspire you, because you do the same to me. It's amazing to hear. Want to thank people along this way in terms of the process to get here. Tony Khan, Tony Baselli.
All right, let's move on.
Things from you, Pops, going through this process. Absolutely, we'll be calling football plays.
There you go. So
how important is it for stability now with Trevor? This will be the fourth different play caller as he gets ready for his fifth year. With just a perfect scenario for you as far as, what you've seen so far in his 4 years and where you believe you can take him.
I was telling Trevor this the other day that I've watched him play, live as a freshman in high school. It was Buford High School against Cartersville. Excuse me. Sorry, I was in the South Georgia. I was in Georgia, man. That's all I knew. And I was seeing this freshman in high school play the position at a high level.
Who's this dude?
Standing tall, making throws, delivering.
I don't hate. I think this guy's gonna be. I mean, I don't know. Who does he look like? Someone help me. Who does he look like? Who does Liam Cohen look like, chat?
And I walked out of there like, man, this is different. I had no idea who he was. And then you fast forward to now, right? How do we make Trevor Lawrence and this offense as dynamic and explosive as we can be, right? We've got to build it around him as well, right? We've got to make every part of this about improvement, and he will be a part of that process. He's earned that right. I cannot respect his toughness and mentality and work ethic more than I do already from afar. And this will all be about Trevor right now.
Stewart from Mad TV, huh?
Jamal St. Cyr. That convinced you that he was the right person for this job?
Well, I think we, interviewed 10 potential candidates. And I think with the lack of success we've had here, certainly over the last year and a half, it's a chance for reflection from me. I think what was the fundamental position. And our commitment to Trevor, I think it's well known. And we believe in him. So it started with that. And that was the fundamental question really to all the candidates. How would they do it? And after we got done with that, it was very evident to me that Liam was the guy. And, I'd never met Liam till the process started, but I'd heard about him quite a bit over the last year from really, as I said, solicited and unsolicited.
Y'all don't say who he looks like.
I've been to him. The topic
don't say who Con looks like.
His name was prominently mentioned. So I really wanted to make sure.
Don't be telling me who Con looks like. Y'all are going to get me in trouble. Let's hear some more from Liam.
And how we want to do things. then we'll get into the fundamentals and techniques in which we want to participate and play the game at. Then you start to get into the scheme while continuing to educate and address the culture, the standards. And that's where it's going to all start, is when these guys get in the building. It'll probably start before that with the staff.
You guys got an interesting
and trying to get this thing within the building itself.
Let's go me and then Mark.
I had a question for the
Oh, sorry.
owner. What can you give us?
Yeah, we're good.
I was going to take that job, but ultimately probably underestimated some of the leadership that goes with calling plays and truly running the show on offense. Quarterback being involved, everybody being involved, and you started to show them examples of that.
That's enough of this. You get the vibe. The Duval thing, kind of interesting. How he goes, we got jokes now. I mean, there were jokes about Sirianni. Sirianni's in his second Super Bowl, so we'll see how it goes. It's going to come down to the Trevor Lawrence thing, and a lot of people hesitant as to whether Trevor Lawrence can take it to promised land. I think there's kind of the same vibe with CJ Stroud. You know, there's the same vibe with CJ Stroud. Can he take that next step? Really great year, okay year. What's his third year going to look like? He's going to his second play caller. If CJ Stroud can't beat up Bobby Slowick, can he beat the NFL's elite? It's the real question of the day. I feel like that's what we're learning. What a hilarious story. And some people will say on stuff like that, must be a slow news day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a slow news day. You are correct. It is the week before the Super Bowl. The candidates that a lot of people want to be interviewed have not been interviewed. So, yes, it is a slow news day. But, yeah, there we go. We'll see what happens with the Jags. A lot of people say Jags going 1-16. Boy, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something if the Jags had the number one pick? So they had the number one pick with Marone, right? Yeah, before Meyer. Yeah. And then they had the number one pick with Peterson. And then they had the number one pick here. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they got pretty decent talent at Jacksonville, right? Brian Thomas going to be a mofo. We got to be on. Let's be honest with ourselves, okay? Brian Thomas going to be nice. He might be a second. What is he, a second round fantasy pick next year, Brian Thomas? He's scary. He's terrifying. I would say right now, like based on body of work, Nico's the best receiver in the division. If you told me 365 days from now, we got to be honest. If you told me that 365 days from now, if you told me that Brian Thomas is the best receiver in the AFC South, I would not think you're crazy. Matter of fact, if you told me he wasn't, I might actually be surprised. That dude is terrifying. Terrifying. What do I think we need in the draft? Someone asked. Offense, man. Offense. Everything offense. Everything offense. No matter what. Everything offense. Saquon Barkley is going ham in the game. I put 13 hunt on Philly. I lost the 3 hunt on the Chiefs. I lost a GUR on the Bills. Fortunately, I had their over point total. So I'm in on Philly. I am 1,200 to win 1,296 on Philly right now. Maybe it's a hate bet. Who knows? Who cares? Got to go with it. You got to see how that whole thing goes. But we'll see how it goes. It'll be an interesting thing. Like you said, you know who they're hiring, just going through the process. I highly think it's Chip Kelly. I just don't see them hiring someone with no experience. No play calling experience. See, I don't care what the play calling experience looks like. So you got to start somewhere. I'm fine with unconventional experiences. I just think that the Thad Lewis made me think. Now, some people will say, they're doing the Rooney Rule thing and they're trying to knock that out. Maybe I just look at the Chip Kelly connection, and I think maybe they're kind of setting stuff up for that. So I think that's possible. Nick Caley actually interviewed with Tampa Bay. So we'll keep an eye on that. The Gerard Johnson, we saw that. We saw the Nixon as well. So that's just kind of where the Texans are at right now, at the moment. So we'll peep that scene, and we will continue to ride along, and we will continue to always remember when it comes to this Texans stuff, we're all in it together. I didn't mean to start Rooney Rule talk. I just, like, some people say, you're interviewing a guy who doesn't have that they're not going to hire. That's like the immediate skepticism, but who knows? Who knows? Sasha's asking for film review. I'm good on that. That's not me. I don't pretend because I think a lot of this quote film review is fake ass stuff. Film review, you're watching from 5 angles. It takes hours upon hours upon hours. Not me. Not the film review guy. Seth Payne, really good film review guy. John Harris, really good film review guy. It's not me. I'll watch some highlights. We can cut up and watch some highlights. I've set in like the professional style film review. Bored. Just to be honest with you, I was bored. I don't pretend. There's a lot of people who just rip the draft profiles of guys and they break it down like they did some scouting report. Not me. I love the draft more than anything. Used to be my favorite party. First time I met Cody Stutes, he cried and threw up on himself at the draft party that I had. We had 2 kegs, 4 punches. I used to make some nasty punch, probably like 70 people over. He cried because they drafted Brian Cushing instead of Jeremy Maclin. Ask Stutes about it. I wanted Maclin. He puked on the steps. It was like at the old college apartments. He puked on the steps down to the thing. This little kid. The first time we hung out. Been boys ever since. He's kind of grown up a little bit. Ask Cody the next time he's live. Like, ask him in his chat. He'll be mad at me. I've told this story 100 times. Ask Cody about when the Texans drafted Brian Cushing and where he was. Just ask him. I might bring this up on SNL tomorrow. I wanted Maclin. He came over. He couldn't hang. Not everyone could hang, though. That was when you like mixing the Kool-Aid punch. We had like the Gatorade buckets. You mix that, the Jello shots, shot like just taking the handle out of the freezer, shots. You pass. That was when it was like multiple rounds on the day. So you like going 1 through 3. And then you wake up the next day and it's just a continuing FS. Probably didn't go to class on Monday. The draft was what that was for me all the time. Absolute crazy. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, be sure to bring it up. Ask Cody about where. Just ask him. Just say, hey, Cody, where were you when the Texans drafted Brian Cushing? He's probably texting me right now. All right. Fun times, funny times. CJ Stroud versus Brock Lesnar, Slowick. Could Chip Kelly be closer? And Jags, it was an interesting press conference. Probably not a lot of fear, but let's keep a close eye on what's going on in Duval. And no matter what happens, always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for joining the night stream, 10:30 Monday through Friday. Appreciate you.
For days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.